let's take a look at another craft here.
Yeah. What is this?
This is a
like
Navy
from
craft.
Star Wars.
And the one on the right is an actual photo of the craft.
That's weird,
This
right?
craft now.
Wait, the one on the right is an actual photo?
The one on the right is an actual photo. This craft, its wings fold, and it is launched from a missile tube in a nuclear submarine. It is fired out of the missile tube with an air charge. Its missiles prepare to ignite, and it gets up out of the water. Its wings spring open. Its engine fires, and it flies. It is unmanned. It flies at supersonic speed, not hypersonic. It is a reconnaissance aircraft. But if they're admitting it's a reconnaissance aircraft, trust me, they are weaponizing it as well. They're never going to put something up just, as a sensory. It'll be an offensive jammer, or it'll do something else. And if it can fly like that, have it on for good authority that it's way past that point now. It can come back. It can fold its wings. It can hit the water. It finds the sub based on
a little skunk right
a
there.
homing beacon, and it goes to the submarine, folds itself up, and goes back into the missile tube.
They even got the fucking Lockheed logo right on the side.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, that would be the big test piece of it, right?
General Dynamics.
General Dynamics right there.
That's what I said.
I just want to pose a question that I think is on millions of people's minds around here. What if there were 3,000 reports of drones or manned aircraft sightings over the U.S. Capitol or the White House or the State House in Albany? What would happen? There would be an immediate and intense response to figure out what they were and to solve the problem. And yet, millions of people around here, New Jersey, of course, here in Staten Island, and beyond, are getting nothing but don't believe what you see. There's a saying that we had after 9/11, if you see something, say something. I think that's become, if you see something, don't worry about it, because we saw it too. And the people of Staten Island deserve answers. The people of this city and state and region deserve answers of what the heck is going on. Just last night in my neighborhood, my neighbor sent a video of whatever it is flying over our house. And yet we're told, don't believe what you see. It's shocking to us that here we are almost a month later, 3,000 sightings, drones, manned aircraft, and our folks don't have an answer. We're calling upon not just the New York City Police Department, but others to get involved, get aggressive, figure out what these things are, and help at least alleviate some of the frustration, anxiety that many people share. This is 2024. They're either lying or they're incompetent or they're both. How can we, the United States of America, have this going on and we're told just look the other way? Ignore it. It's no big deal. We know for a fact that there may be some who are, performing some type of surveillance. Well, let's be honest with the American people and treat them like adults and tell them what it is. Yet here we are, standing, because we know recently there were reports over this asset, the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. Here we are in Fort Wadsworth, one of the oldest military installations in the country. There was, we believe, a drone flying above the bridge. We also know on the other side of the island there was a drone flying over New York Container Port in the Goethals Bridge. And we're supposed to just let it be? Come on, folks, step up to the plate and be honest and truthful with the American people, the people of Staten Island, and solve this problem once and for all.
And here's what Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene said about the lack of answers.
Well, number one, I'm going to call it total bullshit that no one knows what these are. And I think it's a slap in the face to the American people to say they don't know what this is. they can track down a guy that just killed a CEO, but they can't identify what nightly drones are and where they're coming from. I think that is absolutely disgusting to lie to the American people like this, and the truth needs to be told about it.
Yeah, but
all right, so you're here today. You were just inside. You walked out. Why?
I walked out because it was worthless. It was the biggest amateur hour presentation I've ever seen about anything, okay? It was ridiculous. There were no answers. Every question that was asked by a member of the state legislature, great questions, no answers, no resolution. They don't know where the drones are coming from. They don't know who's doing it. They don't know why they're doing it, but they say there's no credible threat. It was annoying to be there. I drove 2 hours to be here today, spent an hour in there. I got to drive 2 hours back. The biggest waste of 5 hours in my entire life.
So why do you think they called this meeting?
No idea. Why would you call a meeting to tell people you don't know anything? I have no idea. And then when the legislators would ask questions, there were no answers. Here's the most frustrating part. The colonel of the state police said that he had a helicopter of his flying above one of these drones, a 6-foot drone or something, I can't remember exactly what he said, and he felt unsafe for his helicopter, so he just let it go. Just let it go. Where'd it go? Who knows? Didn't want to follow it because he didn't feel safe. Is that not the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? I mean, honestly.
Do they have any idea where these drones are originating?
No, they don't. They would. Maybe if they followed that sucker to when it landed, they would know. But they don't. This is a complete lack of effort, in my opinion, on trying to figure this out. This is not about ability. We have the technology. We have the people. We have the training. We have the resources. We have the money. It's just a lack of effort. I mean,
why?
I don't know. They should be saying, you know what they should have done today with productive use of our time if they didn't know anything? Come in there and say, hey, legislators, we don't know anything. But if you get us these 10 things, do these 10 things for us, and the governor calls in this kind of action, we can figure it out. Will you help us? And then we would have helped them. But instead it was just excuse after excuse, and we know nothing. It was infuriating, and I got up and I walked out.
You've been in the service, right?
Yeah, I was an attack helicopter pilot, Apache helicopter pilot in the Army, and I helped stand up the initial unmanned aircraft training battalion in the aviation sector of the Army. So I know a little bit about what I'm talking about, and these guys are not doing the job they need to do to figure out what's going on, and that is the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and the state police.
And they're saying no threat to Americans.
They're saying no threat, but how the hell do they know? They don't know anything. They don't know what it is. They don't know where it come from. They don't know nothing. When I walked in here today, I was actually pretty calm. I was excited to be here to find out a couple things. I thought they'd be like, hey, listen, it's FedEx, trying to figure it out. But instead I got the most ridiculous amateur hour briefing I've ever sat through.
Wow, that's truly upsetting.
Yep.
John, on the drones, does the U.S. government have any of its own imagery or video of these systems?
I'm not aware that we have U.S. government produced imagery ourselves, but as I said in my opening statement, we have certainly done thorough analysis of the existing imagery.
Like from people's cell phones that we're seeing? Basically, with what you're looking at, how can you credibly tell people that there is no public safety threat, there's no national security threat, that there's no reason to believe that a foreign government is involved?
Because the analysis thus far, in an investigation that is ongoing, has not revealed any national security or malicious intent or criminal activity. But, Jackie, I would remind you, we're at the beginning here, not the end. There's a lot more work to be done, and we're working closely with state and local authorities to gain more information. I would argue that we're moving pretty well here with a sense of energy to try to figure out what we can do to learn more about this. We're still in the middle of an ongoing investigation, and I'm up here explaining to you and let you know what we know so far, what we believe so far. If information comes to light that changes that characterization, then my goodness, we'll be the first ones to let you know. But right now, there's just no indication that this is some sort of foreign malign activity or, in fact, even criminal.
Well, what I don't understand is, this has been happening since late November. I don't know that the law enforcement officials or residents in New York and New Jersey, or even the Democratic senators who wrote to Director Ray Mayorkas and the FAA administrator today, would think that this has
been handled with a sense of urgency. But that being said, has the President or the Secretary of Defense issued any guidance to NORTHCOM or military installations to act on these systems if they're deemed to be a threat in any way? And what's the benchmark for that determination?
So 2 thoughts. First of all, you're right, late November. It is now, the 12th of December. So I think it shows that we're moving on with this, and we're going to stay on it. So I want to disabuse you of any notion that we're not taking this seriously, because we are. I can also tell you that if the President, as Commander-in-Chief, believed, based on the information that he'd been given, that there was a national security threat at play here, or even a public safety threat at play here, he would issue the appropriate directives to not only law enforcement, but perhaps even the military if that was needed. I want to go back to something I said at the top. There has been no evidence of any of this activity in or near restricted spaces.
That's not what the senators said in the letter. They said, in fact, that they've been observed maneuvering their critical infrastructure, sensitive locations, including reservoirs and military installations, and cited a concern from law enforcement about public safety threats because a medevac helicopter was prevented from transporting a seriously injured patient for care because of the presence of these drones.
I stand by my opening statement.
Can you make that make more sense? Because I think people in New York and New Jersey see drones the size of an SUV over their house every night and think that that doesn't make any sense.
Certainly I understand why people would be looking at this and being concerned about it. We're concerned about it too, which is why we have the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, my goodness, looking at this. And we're taking it seriously.
You see that smirk?
We understand that people are concerned.
That's
we understand
gaslighting.
it.
Right
They
there.
got questions. We got questions too, and we're working hard to get the answers to that. What I can tell you as we sit here today, at 2:16 in the afternoon on the 12th, is we haven't seen any indication thus far that there's a public safety risk, and we haven't seen.
Does the government know what they are?
We are still investigating this. I can't tell you definitively. I cannot characterize for you definitively what these sightings are. I can just go back to what I said at the opening. We've looked at the imagery. We can't corroborate some of the reported sightings through our own expert analysis using sophisticated detection techniques. But that doesn't mean that, we're putting our pen down here this afternoon and calling it a day. We're going to keep at this.
What are you doing now?
We are continuing to investigate it, as I said in my opening statement, 2 federal agencies, as well as the United States Coast Guard and state and local law enforcement officials, which we are staying in close touch with.
Picking up on drones, has it reached a level, or is there a level determined by which the president or the administration, more directly, would prohibit any use of the airspace, since it is regulated, for drones for a period of time to try to figure out who they are and to remove this anxiety that people in the Northeast are feeling? I
don't know that we're at a stage right now where we're considering that sort of a policy option, but I can tell you that we're going to keep an open mind here, and I think whatever policy options we determine are appropriate will be informed by the investigation. And thus far, in this early stage of the investigation, there's just no national security threat that we see and no public safety risk. So again, you want to be careful that you don't you don't jump to conclusions and you don't jump to policy options that may not be appropriate at this particular stage. But we'll obviously see where it goes, and we'll be informed by investigators.
We have no idea where these drones are coming from. We have no idea where they're taking off from, where they're landing, what they're doing, or who's even doing them. This is a huge problem, and you have many people that are concerned, not only in the township of Pequannock, but in Morris County and in the entire state. The drones that are out now, that are literally flying over my house, my community's house, the families in Pequannock, are the size of large SUVs, if not buses. The question is, I actually got this question from one of my residents, is how do we know, based on everything that's going on in the world today? I see it on YouTube, I see it on regular TV, all these drone attacks in Ukraine or Syria. How do we know that this isn't going to happen here? And here's the problem. I don't have a clear answer for them.
While you may not know what they are, apparently you were told what they are not. Can you share with us what they are not?
And so I asked a very straightforward question. Can you confirm to me that these drones are not U.S. military drones? And they said, yes, they are not U.S. military drones. And I said, can you confirm whether or not they are from a high-tech company, a company like Google or Amazon, or let's say Elon Musk? They said, we can confirm it's not from them. So who are they from? Here's the problem. You know, it's 2024. We're in America. And are you telling me that with all this technology, we're supposed to be the greatest place on earth? Are you telling me that people can just fly drones over New Jersey in the township of Pequannock and nobody has an idea of who are flying these? What's the...
Yeah.
So here it is.
Jersey has some of the best detection equipment in the nation, I am told. We have by far the most robust equipment, is what the state police told us. The detection equipment is up, but not detecting. These are 6-foot drones that are somehow evading our detection. They are not being detected. Here's some unknowns. And again, they were very transparent today. So some of the unknowns. The state police says, unknowns. We have no idea where they're taking off from. No idea. We have no idea where they're landing. No idea at all. We have no idea who is behind them, because as I mentioned, they are not state, and we are told it is not federal. We have no idea the drone types, as I mentioned before, that they stay up about 6 to 7 hours. And if you're a drone operator, you probably know that that's a very, very long time. We know that we've gotten close, but when we do get close, the lights have gone dark and they have left the area. And we do know that they are flying, as I've repeatedly said, they are flying over critical infrastructure like reservoirs, Picatinny Arsenal, Trump Bedminster, and our nuclear power plants.
The world's on Staten Island. And now we feel like we're characters in that movie. What is happening is outrageous. Thousands of drones and unmanned aerial systems flying above us, and our government is not telling us who's operating them and for what purpose. I don't believe that the United States of America, with its military capabilities, does not know what these objects are. And what I'm asking, and what we're all asking, is for you to be straight with us and just tell us what is going on. As Vito says, this is creating havoc. People are confused, they're concerned, they have anxiety, they don't know what's going on. There's all sorts of theories that are out there. And the best way to address this is to just be honest and tell the American people what is going on. These are not recreational drones. These are not, I don't believe, commercial drones, because if they are violating existing rules and regulations, which say that they need to be under 400 feet and they can't be operating in the middle of the night between sunset and sunrise. So that leaves two options. It's our government, or there's a foreign nexus. And so either our government is doing some type of surveillance activity.
Okay, I'd now like to welcome some good friends of Reality Check, John and Jerry Tedesco, my favourite citizen scientists. You'll remember them from a Reality Check episode a month or so ago where we brought them on to talk about the extraordinary work they've been doing off the coast of Long Island, where they both live. And what they've been doing is, with their own gear that they've bought at their own huge expense, they've been observing anomalous phenomena off the coast of Long Island ever since, I think, about 2 years ago. John and Jerry, welcome back to Reality Check. What can you tell us about your impressions of what's been recorded over New Jersey in the last few weeks?
Hello, Russ. We're happy to be here. Happy to be here. I'll let you go. It's crazy. A good number of the objects are similar to some of the things we were seeing off the coast, or like these twinkling lights, kind of rotating lights. Then there's the other mixed bag where you see something that resembles navigation lights. They're drone-like objects, or would appear to look like drones.
Right, and the question is whether or not it's the same thing. Whether that all of this stuff that people are observing, are they in fact two different objects, two different sources of as far as where they come from, or is it the same, or is it maybe a U.S. response to it? having drone activity out there, drone like
So kind of recon or surveillance.
Yeah.
So I know you guys, it's a delicate subject because, of course, the contact from government agencies is always slightly covert and discreet. But I know you guys, from our previous conversations, have been approached by the FBI and that there's an FBI team that's long been investigating the UAP sightings in and around that part of America. Have you been in touch with the FBI and Homeland Security in recent weeks or recent days after these anomalous, strange incidents over New Jersey?
We have. There's not, unfortunately, it's not a lot, that we can share publicly.
We could say it's been productive.
Yeah, but it's been productive, and there's definitely a genuine concern out there about this stuff.
Now, one thing that you did tell me off camera is that there's some questions that basically the authorities are interested in getting answered. What are those questions?
Okay, so we reached out to some contacts we had in some of the federal and state agencies, and these are individuals that had some concerns. They felt they were kind of in the dark themselves. And let's see if I can raise these questions. They put a list of 10 questions together that they say the American public should be asking the authorities and their governors. The first one is, how does the government know that these craft are human-made drones?
Good question.
Second, how does the government know the intent of these craft? Third, why has the government declined to take action against these craft? Four, have these craft similarly affected adversarial nations?
And they have?
Okay. 5, other than seeing something and saying something, what should the general public do if these craft engage them? There's an unverified report of one hovering over a car, interfering with the car's digital equipment like its clock. And that's something they shared. 6, what are the potential consequences of taking action against the drones or drone-like entities, like shooting it with a gun? 7, do these craft emit radiation, and are there affordable and accessible sensors or detectors a person can purchase for themselves? 8, have any of these craft been seen emitting substances like angel hair?
Wow.
And the 9th question was, what should be the response of first responders should they come across these craft that land or crash? The last question is, what first responders should do if they crash or land, but let's see. Okay. A final question would be to ask why there is no coordinated federal preparedness guidance or direction for municipalities nationwide, only reactive, isolated responses. And
so gents, can I just ask you this? Those are questions that have been asked by somebody in an agency that you don't want to name, that should be being asked by the public. Is that a correct representation?
Yes. That's correct.
So what that's telling me is that there are people in government agencies, and I won't try and name them, who are genuinely concerned that they're not getting answers.
Exactly.
Right. And that's the way we would interpret it.
And they feel they're in the dark also. These couple of individuals were pretty frustrated from the conversation we had.
That is really alarming. Well, I can tell you, just to add to that, we know that just in the last few minutes, the Homeland Security Committee hearing has ended in Congress,
where Matthew Pines talks about this in detail too. And I want you to understand something about the folks at the CIA. If these drones that are in Jersey and the UK are not being talked about, and they're saying that they're not from the military, there is an option that they might be from the military, but they are SAPs, special access programs. And multiple of these companies are private entities, Lockheed, General Dynamics, Boeing, all of these. And those being private companies can give the government the plausible deniability to say, no, this is not military, this is private, or we don't know what it is. So I also want you to understand something that Mr. Andrew Bustamante talks about
about the CIA culture and how they regard humans, or in this case, the American people. But this is how they see people. And I want you to understand that because the CIA and the Air Force have been awfully quiet about this. And I do incline myself to think that they know exactly what we're dealing with. And it could be something along these lines. So those are the two options. But let me play you this clip from Andrew so you can understand what I mean.
People need to accept that just like parents want to keep secrets from their kids, wives want to keep secrets from their husbands, you want to keep secrets from your mom and dad, and you do it for their best interest, right? Like your mom and dad don't need to know the things that keep you up at night. Your kids don't need to know the things that keep you up at night. You don't want to know the kinds of things that keep your teenage kids up at night, right?
That's right.
The same thing is true with government secrets. The stuff that keeps senior administrators up at night, you don't fucking want to know that. You do not want to know. Not only is it incredibly detailed, incredibly boring, it's also usually it's not something that's going to get resolved quickly, right? The Iran problem that keeps people up at night is not going to get resolved in the next 24 hours. Right. It's going to keep them awake for the next 3 years. So why bother the American people with that? First of all, you've got to think that the government looks at the American population as an economic engine. They don't see them as people. They don't see them as civilians or kids or innocents. They see them as a functional, productive entity, an organism. The job of that organism is to create economic power, GDP. So the reason we keep America safe is to keep the economic engine safe that generates the GDP that pays the bills for the largest military, the most capable military, the most capable intelligence service in the world, which then protects the engine that generates the GDP, and you can see how the cycle goes. It's just, that's all it is. The problem is that the American people think that they should be seen as individuals. They don't realize they're a collective. Once you accept the fact that your individuality, you have independence and freedoms that were granted to you by a government that sees you as one piece of a larger organism. As soon as you threaten the organism, like a criminal does, then you get taken out. You get taken out of that organism and put somewhere else. So you are not entitled to know what the government knows to keep you safe. You're not. You're entitled to know what it takes for you to do your job as the organism that creates the GDP. The same way that parents protect their children by keeping secrets and spouses protect each other by keeping secrets. If you want to know someone else's secrets, look at the mirror, look at yourself in the mirror and say, am I willing to share my secrets with the world? Because if you're not willing to be fully transparent with the world, you have no reason to expect that somebody else should be transparent with you, especially not the US federal government.
Yeah.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the culture of these agencies. They don't think we are entitled to know the truth. They think we don't even have a right to know the truth. That is what they grow up with at these agencies. And that is part of what we're dealing with now. That is why the people at the state government level are confused and are coming out with different reporting from the federal government. Because even people within government, but at a more local level, they don't see that they have a right to know anything about new technology or any type of conflict that they're dealing with.